Lesson 14. Finding the slope of a line given 2 points on the line in an equation of a line. Here are the following objectives. First, to define and describe the slope. Second, to define the slope of a line given 2 points. Third, to recall the slope-intercept form. And fourth, to find the slope given an equation of a line. So let's start with the definition of the slope. The slope of a line is a number that measures its steepness and usually denoted by the letter m. It is the change in y for a unit change in x along the line. So in other words, ito yung mas magandang description ng slope, wherein how come that the symbol for slope is m. Actually, it came from the first letter of the word mountain. So, kung aakit ka ng bundok, you describe the mountain by its steepness, right? So, we have this one. The definition of a gradient slope, okay? It represents how steep the slope is. Uphill is positive and downhill slopes are negative. So if going up is positive and going down is negative. Okay? So the gradient symbol is M for how mountainous slope is. So based on René Descartes, who invented the gradient and assigned the letter M as montagne, which is French for mountain. So remember René Descartes, who invented the concept of rectangular coordinate system. He is also the person behind this slope. So another thing is we can define slope by the ratio of rise and run. So ito yung tinatawag kanina na change in y and change in x. So kapag tinutukoy natin ang change in y, it refers to the rise. And if it is change in x, it refers to the run. So we have the difference. Yung y sub 2 and y sub 1 are both y coordinates. And x sub 2 and x sub 1 are both x coordinates. So m, letter m, is the symbol for the slope. So ibig sabihin, meron tayong dalawang points or there are 2 points given. So, yung sub 1 na yan, it represent the first point at yung sub 2 ay ang sub 2 ang nagre-represent sa second point. So, let's have an examples. We need to find the slope of the line given the following points. So, meron tayong 4. Simulan natin sa number 1. In number 1, we need to find the slope given 2 points, 4, 3, and negative 1, negative 5. Okay, so 4, 3 is the first point. So we can label it as x sub 1, y sub 1. So 4, 3 is the first point. And the second point will be negative 1 and negative 5. So we can write it as x sub 2, y sub 2. And remember, the formula of getting the slope is m is equal to the difference of the y coordinates. So we have y sub 2 minus y sub 1 and over the difference of the x coordinates. So x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Pwede rin baliktad. Pwede nyo unahin yung y sub 1 sa y sub 2, x sub 1 sa x sub 2. Parehas lang din yung lalabas. So we need to substitute. Since y sub 2 is negative 5, so negative 5 minus the y sub 1 is 3. So we substitute 3 all over the x sub 2 is negative 1 minus the x sub 1 is positive 4. Then simplify. So what is negative 5 minus 3? So that is negative 8 over, okay, let me put this one. Negative 1 minus negative 4 is negative 5. And then simplify further. Since they are both negative, we can simplify it as positive. Therefore, the slope here is 8 over 5. So let me rewrite here. The slope is 8 over 5. Okay, so that's how to find the slope of this first given. Okay, next given, negative 8, comma, positive 8. Negative 7 rather, comma, positive 8, and 4, comma, 3. So, we use the formula in getting the slope as y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So, we need to substitute it. We have 3 minus 8 over 4 minus negative 7. Okay? So, why is it minus? Kasi sabi doon, change. So, pag sinabing change, you need to get the difference between the two coordinates. So, 3 minus 8. Okay, so, we will have, I'll gonna put it here. 3 minus 8 is negative 5 over 4 minus negative 7, that is 11. So, ibig sabihin, ang slope mo ay negative 5 over 11. Okay. Next example. 0, 3 and 3, 0. So, we need to find, let's write here. So, 0 minus 3 over 3 minus 0. So, what is 0 minus 3? That is negative 3 over 3. So, what is negative 3 over 3? That is negative 1. So, the slope is negative 1. Next, last, I think this is the last. So, m is equal to 5 minus 6 over 6 minus 5. So, what is 5 minus 6? That is negative 1 over 1, which is equivalent to negative 1. The slope is also negative 1. Okay. Next. Here are some ways to describe a slope of a line. Kung mapapansin niyo, the slope na kinuha natin kanina ay may negative at may positive. So, verbally, slope indicates the steepness of a line. The sign indicates the direction, and the absolute value describes the steepness. Remember, the absolute, let me use this one. The absolute value describes the steepness. So, means to say, the larger the absolute value, the steeper the graph. This is related to the grade of a hill or the pitch of a roof. Okay? Second is, algebraically slope is typically represented by m. For instance, the equation of a line can be written as y equals mx plus b, where m represents the slope. Also, the formula of the slope is this one. We already used this. However, some linear functions use other letters for the value that is the slope of the graph, such as a direct variation, y equals kx, where k is the constant of proportionality. Third, so it is represented as rise over run. This delta means to say change. So change in x over change in y over change in x. So the ratio is change in vertical direction to the change of the horizontal. And the last one is, in modeling situations, we say that the slope is the constant average rate of the change. So you have to remember this. If uphill, the slope is positive. If it is downhill, it is negative. And if it is horizontal, the slope is 0. And if it is vertical, the slope is undefined. Okay? So, for you to easily remember the slope, I'm gonna introduce Mr. Slopeman. So, again, if the slope is positive, the line increases. It goes upward to the right. And if it is downward or downhill, it goes down to the from upper left going to the right. So it decreases, the slope is negative. And if the line is vertical, okay, if the line is vertical, the slope is undefined. And if the line is horizontal, the slope is 0. So here is your slope man, Mr. Slope Man. Okay, so again, I'll repeat, if the line increases, the slope is positive. If the line decreases, the slope is negative. If the line is vertical, the slope is undefined. And if the line is horizontal, the slope is 0. Okay, so if we're given a line equation in y is equal to mx plus b form, we can find the slope and y-intercept without drawing any graph. So here are the following example. Y equals 2/3 x plus 5. So since it is already in the form of slope-intercept form, the one that I'm talking with is y equals mx plus b, where m refers to the slope and b, small b, is the y-intercept. So we can now identify the slope and the y-intercept. So the slope on this first expression is 2/3, and the y-intercept is 5, which means 0, 5. We can tell that the slope is positive and the line increases. Okay, that is uphill or going to the upper right. On the second example, which is y is equal to negative 3x, this one, negative 3x plus 5, the slope here is negative 3 and the y-intercept is also positive 5. Therefore, the slope is negative, the line decreases. So let me show this. The line will decrease if it is negative, the slope is negative, and if the slope is positive, the line increases. Okay? Let's have an examples. Let's have examples. So first, we need to have x plus y equals 5. Let's identify the slope and the y-intercept, and we have to describe the slope without graphing. Okay, so first thing is this linear equation is already on the form of the standard form of ax plus by equals c. Now we need to do this, transform it into slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So, your variable y will remain on the left side. So, we need to put y here. So, I'll copy x plus y equals 5. I'll put y here on the left side. It will stay. And then, by subtraction property of subtraction property of equality, subtraction property of equality, the SPE, we can subtract both sides by negative x. So we can have negative x here, so I'll repeat, sorry for that. We will use the SPE or the subtraction property of equality by subtracting both sides by x. Okay, so magkakaroon tayo ng negative x plus 5 on the right side. And the variable x on the left side, magzi-0 na kasi siya. Since nag-minus tayo, so I'll show it na lang, no? I'll use red. So, dito, mag-minus x tayo, dito naman magma-minus x din. Ayan. So, magiging 0 to. Mawawala to. Ito yung magiging labas. Now, moving on, since y equals negative x plus 5 is already on the slope-intercept form, we can now identify the m and the b. M is the slope, b is the y-intercept. So here, we have negative 1 and positive 5. So since the slope is negative, the slope is negative, the line decreases. Or the graph of this x plus y equals 5 is decreasing if you're gonna graph it on the Cartesian plane. Next, 2x plus y is equal to 10. Again, we need to transpose or transform it into slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Okay, ayaw sumulat. Mx plus b. So, dito, kopya ko muna dito, 2x plus y equals 10. So, copy y, dahil nasa left side na siya. Then again, using subtraction property of equality, magma-minus 2x ako dito, magma-minus 2x din ako rito. So, dito, cancel na to. And then, dito, magkakaroon ka ng negative 2x plus 10. So, ang m natin dito sa ating slope-intercept form is negative 2. And our b, which is the y-intercept, is positive 10. Okay? So, same, it is also negative. Next example, 3x equals y plus 3. Since yung y natin ay nasa right side, pwede natin gawin ganito. So, 3x equals y plus 3. So, magma-minus 3 ako on both sides. So, ito cancel na to. So, maiiwan na lang si y sa right side, right? So, magiging 3x minus 3. So, using commutative property of equality, we can, not commutative. Kasi 3x minus 3 is equal to y. Kung i-reverse lang natin, yung left magiging right, parehas lang din naman yan. Since 3x minus 3 is equal to y. So, we can write it as y equals 3x minus 3. Parehas lang yan. So, ang m natin dito is 3. At ang b natin is negative 3. So, ang slope natin ay positive. It means, kapag ginraph natin tong linear equation na to, ang kanyang line or graph of the line is increasing. Next example, x plus 4y equals 4. So, again, kopya muna nating equation. So, sa left side, iiwan natin si 4y. And then, magma-minus tayo on both sides ng negative x. So, ito cancel na to. So, magkakaroon ka ng negative x plus 4. Since may kasamang 4 si y, we need to divide both sides by 4. So, cancel si 4. We have y equals, we need to divide negative x by 4, pero hindi siya possible. So, ganyan lang isusulat. Since 4 can be divided by 4, we can have 1. So, plus 1. Ibig sabihin, ang m mo ay negative 1/4. And your b is positive 1. Okay. That's the end. Thank you for listening. Hope you learned something today.